have fantastic news to share with you, and it's right there behind me. You notice anything a little bit different along this part here? If you've known me as long as I've had this car factory, you know the roof has been a problem the entire time, and we've changed some stuff. Let's go on the roof. I'll show you what happened. It's worth it. It's good. It's good. I've been waiting to show you this part. Last week I got 12 people together and we tore off the old roof, the 110-year-old pitch tar roof with gravel and 2 layers of PVC. We put that all in the dumpster. It was 4 days of hard labor getting that all in the dumpster. Totally underestimated that part of the job. We also had $30,000 worth of new roofing material delivered onto the roof to install with our pro roofer Wesley. Because the tear off and the deck repair took so long, Wesley had to go home to his family, his wife and kids, and so he couldn't be here any longer, leaving me with an open roof, exposed to the elements, and $30,000 worth of roof material getting damaged. At this point I had to decide, am I going to keep roofing and doing this for the next 3-4 weeks instead of anything else, or do I throw in the towel and call it quits? We got it done. Let me tell you exactly how we got this roof done. Instead of calling Uncle, I called Tio. His name is Francisco, and he is a very experienced roofer who was recommended by the roofing supply company to help me out with my problem and to get this roof installed. He did in 3 days what would have taken us 3 weeks easily, and the quality is a lot different. I'm going to show you exactly every step of the process because it is way cooler than you even think it is. Industrial roofing is way cooler than I thought. I'm also going to go together with you and check and see if the machinery downstairs is damaged in any way because it's got a lot of water on it. We're going to see what still powers up and if we have a business down there or not. Welcome back to the car factory. The first thing that goes onto the roof is the insulation. This is polyisocyanated foam, which people just call polyiso, which is a high performance foam. Doesn't melt in a fire. It has the highest R value per inch of any insulating foam out there. And it's moisture resistant, which is great if you have a roof material. This foam comes in these blocks that are delivered like Legos, so that you stack them all together and then you screw them down with these screws, which are insulation plate and sheet metal screws that go through to the deck. The foam goes in a specific order so that the roof has a taper, like the peak of a house, so that when it rains on it, the water actually drains off the sides instead of pools on the middle. That roof has been dead flat for over 110 years, which means that every time it rained, the water would just pool up there and then tunnel its way through the membrane. Roofs, ironically, don't enjoy rain, and the water actually damages them much faster than if they're sloped. It's actually a big investment because not only does the insulation cost more, but there's way more labor involved to install it. The reason for this is because each piece of insulation needs to have many screws through it. There's more screws on the piece of insulation near the edge because of the wind load than in the middle, but still you're talking about thousands and thousands of screws that need to be installed by hand. This is where I saw the first thing that really separated the amateurs from the pros. Francisco's team didn't have battery-powered drills, they had corded drills. These corded drills actually are really high performance. You hook them to a small generator, the drill is way lighter, and they zip into screws way faster. We did the first run of installation ourselves to see how this goes, and it took us about 20 or 30 minutes per installation panel. Francisco had it down to minutes. The corded drills are absolutely the way to go, and I learned this wouldn't be the last of the tricks that I learned in installing a roof here in this process. I feel like a little bit of an expert now after having watched all this, which is not true. The thing that I learned about doing roofing, though, is that the hard part isn't doing the first run or the second run, it's the 30th run. Because everything you do on a roof, you have to do so much of it. There's so much more roof in a small roof than it seems, and you lay down 8 foot of material and you realize that you have 10 times that to go. It's a little demoralizing. I think working fast actually helps you get through all of that because there's just so much roof to do in a roof. To get the peak of the roof right, you have to actually line up the insulation, then you have to cut down the middle. And you can use a handsaw or you can use a sawzall. Both options actually are great. The handsaw takes a little more effort, but it's way lighter and way easier to carry around. The sawzall is faster, but then you have to carry a battery-powered tool around. Spending more money on the tools is not always the best way to do it. So you do the same thing over and over again. Place the foam, screw it down, cut the piece you need to cut, more screws, more plates over and over again. With roofing, you need to balance speed and quality because if you don't do it fast enough, you don't make any money. But if you don't do it well, the roof is going to blow off and that's bad. So you have to find a way to get the thing done extremely quickly, but also make sure that you're guaranteeing quality. When you tighten these screws down, you actually have to make sure that you tighten down the screw plate appropriately, that the top just goes down just a little bit. If it goes down too much, the screw punches through the plate and then doesn't hold anything anymore. And if you don't do it enough, you have a protrusion up into the rubber and it can pop the rubber over time. So you have to get thousands and thousands of screws and plates done perfectly every single time. It's just skills, man. With the insulating foam installed on half the roof, it's time to put the rubber down, which this is the coolest part of the process, I think. You clean the whole thing off with a backpack blower and then you roll the roof out. These rolls are 10 feet by 100 feet, so they're pretty big. They weigh, I don't know, probably 200, 300 pounds. I decided to go with EPDM because EPDM is way more repairable. I know in the last video I said that I was doing TPO. TPO is great and it's a lot cheaper, but it has a bunch of drawbacks that I didn't really want with our EPDM roof. EPDM is basically just tire rubber. This is the rubber that's in an inner tube in a bicycle tire, and it is stretchy, it is really durable. Can't pull this apart no matter how hard I try. Benefits are that it's stretchy, it warms up when the sun hits it, and you can repair it yourself. With TPO, you need to have a special heat gun and the skills to run it to melt the TPO together, whereas the EPDM, you glue it. You glue it exactly the way you glue an inner tube. You prime it, and then you put a patch on it, and with that glue, that is stuck together forever. An EPDM roof is also really good up here in Michigan because when the sun hits it, actually warms it up and it melts any snow or ice off the roof, which you don't get from a white TPO roof. If you were down in like Miami or something, you probably want TPO or PVC. Up here, it's EPDM, baby. Now, this is the cool part. To make the rubber stick to the roof, you fold it back, and then you have to distribute the glue evenly on the insulation and the rubber. You do that one of two ways. You can put the glue into a pan and you can roll it out just like it's paint, which takes a lot of time and effort, or you can do it the cool way. The cool way is that you stab holes in the bottom of the $300 bucket of glue and you swing it around in this spirograph pattern. This helps distribute the glue evenly across the roof and quickly. Then you have guys come back through with rollers and backfill it in so that it's all smooth. You can't have too much glue because then glue doesn't really stick to itself and you have bad adhesion. And you can't have too little glue for obvious reasons. The rubber won't stick well and it'll just blow off. Wind actually, as it comes across the roof, it actually provides a lot of lift, kind of like an airplane wing. It'll try to suck the roof off the roof, which is why you need such good adhesion. Gluing the roof down is one of those things that looks really easy in video, but I've learned from experience, it is not easy at all. It's not easy in the least. You have to know what you're doing with this or you will mess it up. The next step is to flip the roof back over and then roll it with this big heavy roller. You roll this roller back and forth so that all the air pockets get mashed out and you make sure that the rubber and the insulation are completely stuck together. That pressure actually helps a lot to make sure everything is completely glued, and then you can trust that that roof is going to be there for a very long time, at least as long as the warranty. With the main sections down, it's time for the detail work. You apply the glue to the brick and then you run the rubber up the brick wall and you smash it down with the roller so that you make sure the brick is completely protected from the weather. The reason why the brick needed so much work in the last episode and the stone tops crumbled was that water was able to get in there and it acted like a little tent. You don't want any water to get between the membrane. They just get disintegrated. Next, you put on the seam tape. So this is a double-sided tape that you put between the big sections of membrane. You sneak it in there, you flip it down, and you roll it just like the other side. You have to prep it with this really stinky primer, which I don't know how these guys work around this stuff day in and day out, but the seam tape gets the roller the same way, and then that roof is all one waterproof layer. Now that the entire east side of the building is roofed, it's time to go over to the west side. The exact same thing. Screws, foam, insulation, glue, rubber, you do the whole thing, and then magically, through the labor of many people, you have the roof roofed. It's done. So then you put on the gutters. The gutters are actually nailed through the roof that you just carefully installed, and then there's a 5-inch seam tape that goes over the top to make sure no water runs in. We bought this 90 foot of gutters for about $1,000 from a metal supply shop, which I think is a pretty good deal compared to how gutter prices are going right now. With the waterproof membrane, the 5-inch seam tape, and then the galvanized box gutters, water can run down the taper into the gutters and onto the ground safely without ending up all over the place or on the machines. During this whole process, the dumpster guys came and got the dumpsters, which is great. The problem is the wheels of the dumpsters customize the parking lot a little bit, which is not ideal, but the parking lot does need to be replaced. Lastly, it's time for all the tiny little small detail work. This is like the edges of the brick columns, the inside corners, all the things that take a meticulous amount of time to do. Francisco cut the rubber carefully by hand, sort of folding it like a present. He has to get this exactly right so that there's no seams or flanges or little pieces of flashing that just don't line up quite right, because anywhere that water can sneak in, it absolutely will. It's amazing having to do a job that you know someone's going to count on for 20 or 25 years. In this moment, what you do now influences what happens decades from now. That's pretty cool. And that is it. The entire roof is installed. It's finished. We have seamless rubber from edge to edge, completely seam sealed with drip edges, gutters, whole 9 yards with insulation underneath, meaning the building should be dry and it should be insulated and warm until at least 2046. I'm hoping for longer, but 2046 is what it's rated for. So now we need to go check out the equipment and see if I still have functioning printing equipment down here in the old envelope factory, or if we have $300,000 worth of scrap. We are literally going to go find this out together. I've not powered up this equipment yet. I've not pulled the tarps off, mostly because I don't want to know the answer until I absolutely have to. So we're going to go learn that together. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who submitted money to our roof fundraiser. You made this entire thing possible. Over 600 of you submitted some funds and a message to go on the roof, and we put every single one of your messages up there, which will be up there as long as the roof is, which I'm hoping is a very long time. You will get a photo of your message on the roof sent to your email, and also we'll be mailing out all of our little roof pieces that people signed up for to get a signed, numbered piece of the roof. You made this entire thing possible, so thank you very much. Now, let's go see my machines. No, I'm serious. We're going right now. I'm taking you with me. Let's go find this out together. If these machines power up, we have a business line we can use to pay for our truck production at the factory. If they don't, I'm sitting on $300,000 worth of scrap. About as real as it gets right here. How far does this start go? Need to turn on the main power. No moisture in there. Okay, no zaps yet. Oh, fan's going. Panel's on. I think we're good. Are you gonna work? The power unit's on the other side. She lives! That's great news! Let me turn this off, it's annoying. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We made it. We have a dry factory. Now it's time to make stuff. I will see you next week.